Good morning, students. I hope all of you are fine. Please take care of your health. Be safe at home. In medieval Indian history, today we are going to learn about a great dynasty ruled over Delhi, that is Mughals, Mughal dynasty. Well, before going to learn about Mughal dynasty, let me take you back to the previous lesson, what you have studied in the previous classes. Just rewind your memory once, students, what you have learnt in the previous lessons. There, before this lesson, we have learnt about Delhi Sultans. Here, we have studied about 5 dynasties ruled over Delhi as sultans. Can you remember once which are they, the 5 dynasties? Of course, yes. The first one is slave dynasty, and second one is Khilji dynasty, and the third one is Tughlaq dynasty, and Sayyid and Lodi dynasty. Like this, 5 dynasties ruled over Delhi. We have learnt about Qutbuddin Aibak, the founder of slave or Gulami dynasty, and we remember Qutub Minar, one of his contributions. And after that, we have also learnt about Alauddin Khilji, his administration, his reforms, the story of Queen Padmini. All these points we have learnt. And after that, under Tughlaq dynasty, we have learnt about Muhammad bin Tughlaq, his administrative reforms. He was called as the mixture of opposites. Yes, all these points we have learnt in the previous lesson. And we have studied the last dynasty ruled over Delhi, that is Sayyid and Lodi dynasty was the last dynasty. So here we have learnt about Ibrahim Lodi was the last ruler of this Lodi dynasty. Now coming to the point, what we are going to learn in today's lesson about Mughals. When Ibrahim Lodi's administration was going on in Delhi, Babar, one who came from Central Asia, invaded Delhi in the year 1526. Students, please remember this year 1526 is very important for 2 points. One is the furious battle fought between Ibrahim Lodi and Babar. Okay? And the second point is that was an end of Delhi Sultan's administration. We can say that the era of Delhi Sultans ended and a new era of Mughals administration started in India. That is why you must remember the year 1526. That is what I said, the historical importance, 2 points. Okay. So here, how this Mughals administration started in India. Babar invaded Delhi, and a furious battle was fought between Ibrahim Lodi, the Delhi Sultan, the last ruler of Lodi dynasty, and Babar. In this battle, Babar killed Ibrahim Lodi in the year 1526 at Panipat. That is why it was called the first battle of Panipat. So in this battle, Ibrahim Lodi, he lost his life, and the Delhi Sultan's administration ended, and Babar founded his own dynasty called Mughal dynasty. So here, who was the founder of Mughal dynasty? Very simply we can say Babar. Yes. Now let us learn some points about Babar here. Babar was a great administrator, he was a great poet, he was a great scholar and a writer also. Why we can say all these points about Babar? Because here, to learn the history of Mughals, we have got a very beautiful source, a literary work, that is Babar Nama. Babar Nama is an autobiography which was written by Babar. That is why we say that Babar was a great scholar, he was a great writer, he was a great poet. So, anyhow, because of this Babar Nama, we learn the history of Mughals, their contribution in the field of art and architecture, their administration, all these points. So, we can say that Babar Nama is a very good source for the history of Mughals. Now, Babar established Mughal dynasty and he ruled for a few years, and after that his son Humayun, his name Nasiruddin Muhammad Humayun, he ascended the throne in the year 1531. So, here unfortunately this Humayun could not rule for many years in Delhi because of this Sher Shah of Sur. Sher Shah invaded Delhi and he defeated Humayun. So, Humayun lost his power, he lost his throne, and he was driven out of Delhi by this Sher Shah. So, Humayun wandered from one place to another place without power and without throne. Meanwhile, he took shelter under Rajputs, and anyhow he managed for 15 years without power, and after 15 years once again he regained his throne at Delhi. So, here meanwhile when he was wandering without power, during that time Akbar was born at Amarkot, and along with Hamida Banu Begum. So, he regained his throne after 15 years, but unfortunately he could not rule for many years after regaining his throne. So, here in the year 1556, his son Humayun died and his son Jalaluddin Muhammad ascended the throne. Students, here you have to give little bit more attention, because this is very important for the examination point of view. The contribution of Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar. Here one thing you must remember, students, Akbar means, that is not the name of Jalaluddin. Jalaluddin, his name is Jalaluddin Muhammad, but Akbar means great. This is the Persian word Akbar. For example, see, in Islamism, the Muslims, when they pray the God, they call the God as Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. What does it mean? It means, Allahu means God, their God. God is great, Allahu Akbar. Same like here also, Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar means great. He was a great ruler. His era or his period 1556 to 1605 CE, common era. So, here the parents of Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar, we know that Humayun and Hamida Banu Begum. He was born in the year 1542 CE at Amarkot. So, here when he ascended the throne, he was only a 14 years old boy. So, the administration was looked after by Bairam Khan, one of his commanders, Bairam Khan. So, here we can say that Bairam Khan acted as a regent of Akbar or Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar. Now, as soon as he ascended the throne, he had to extend his empire. That was his main intention, that was his main objective. So, here we learn some points about the military achievements of Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar. Here, as I told in the beginning, students, one is 1526, the year, that is very important, and another one is 1556 CE, 1556 CE. This is also very important for the examination point of view. So, here What is the importance, historical importance of the year 1556? The second battle of Panipat was fought between Hemu and Akbar. So, here in the year 1556, Hemu, the prime minister of Muhammad Adil Shah of Bengal, he invaded Delhi, or he attacked on Delhi. Meanwhile, Akbar was not there. His commander Bairam Khan faced Hemu at Panipat in the year 1556 CE. That is why this is called the second battle of Panipat. A furious battle was fought between Akbar, means here Bairam Khan in the name of Akbar, and Hemu. So, in this furious battle, in the beginning, Hemu got victory because Hemu he had a very powerful army. In the beginning, he got victory, but unfortunately, at the end of the war, an arrow struck into his eyes and he fell down unconsciously. Meanwhile, his soldiers ran away from the battlefield thinking that Hemu died. The same time, Bairam Khan caught Hemu and Hemu was beheaded. So, that was the end of Hemu, and the second battle of Panipat was ended here, and the Mughals got a great victory against Hemu. So, this is what we learn under the military achievements of Akbar. It was one of the greatest military achievements of Akbar. Next, we move on to the next point, that is the conquest of Gondwan. So, here Gondwan was a small province during that time, and here Queen Durgavati was ruling there. His son was very young. For that purpose, she was acted as regent for her son, Queen Durgavati. So, here Queen Durgavati faced the powerful army of Mughals, but she could not get victory against Mughals because Mughals had very powerful army and trained soldiers. But Queen Durgavati, she had very small army, even though the soldiers were well trained, but she could not face the powerful army of Mughals. So, unfortunately, she failed in her attempt to with regarding to save her empire. So, here this Gondwan was also annexed to the empire of Akbar. Next, conquest of Gujarat. Just see the location of Gujarat in the map, students. Here, Muzaffar Shah was the ruler of Gujarat, and Gujarat was well known for the wealth and sea trade. It was well known for wealth and sea trade because that is very near to sea, Gujarat. That is why that place Gujarat is well known for sea trade. It is very easy for ships to take up international trades and all. So, here Gujarat was ruling by Muzaffar Shah, and Akbar's soldiers attacked on Gujarat, and Akbar gained Gujarat. So, Gujarat was also annexed to Akbar's empire. Here an important point you must remember here. In the memory of Gujarat's victory, Akbar built a beautiful city, that is Fatehpur. Remember, a new city which was built by Akbar called Fatehpur near Sikri. So, this is a great contribution of Akbar. When we learn about the contributions of Akbar, we remember this point also. Okay. Next point what we learn, that is the conquest of Bengal and Orissa. Here in Bengal, Daud Khan was the governor of Bengal. So, here Dawood Khan declared himself as an independent ruler. During that time, Akbar invaded Bengal and he defeated Dawood Khan, and Bengal was also annexed to the Akbar's Empire, and after that Orissa also annexed to Akbar's Empire. So, like this Akbar extended his empire. Next, the annexation of Kabul and Kashmir. Here in Kashmir, it was ruled by Mirza Hakim. Mirza Hakim, he was the stepbrother of Akbar, Humayun's second son. He was ruling over here, and in the year 1585 he died. After his death, the Kabul was annexed to the Akbar's empire. Then, and after that, in Kashmir, Yusuf Shah was ruling at Kashmir, and he was also defeated in the year 1586, and Kashmir was also annexed to Akbar's empire. Like this, Akbar extended his empire. Students, very important point what we learn here is the Rajput policy of Akbar. This is very important. See, we call Jalaluddin Muhammad as Akbar. Akbar means great. Why? Think about that. Why he was called great? Not only for his contribution to art and architecture, he was a very clever diplomatic king. He was a very clever administrator. See, he thought that, he realized that everything was not possible through wars or by using weapons. So, he took some other measures to get victory against Rajputs. You know, Rajputs were very powerful rulers during that time. They were the great warriors, and it was not so easy to defeat Rajputs. It was not so easy. That is why, instead of wars, Akbar used his diplomatic skills. That's what we call war tactics. What is it? War tactics. He used his war tactic. What is that? Instead of using weapons or instead of bloodshed, he used some other measures upon Rajputs. What is that? For example, to maintain friendly relationship with Rajputs, friendly relations, no bloodshed. Okay. Then to have cooperation with them. After that, yes, matrimonial relationships. So, marrying Rajput princess. So, here we know that, we know the story of Jodhabai and Akbar. Jodhabai, she was the daughter of Bihari Mal. There are two views with regarding to Jodhabai. As per some of the views that she was forced to marry Akbar, but some other views say that she had love with Akbar, and even Akbar loved Jodha, and after their marriage they had very good relationship, family relationship. All these points we learn. And even though Akbar was a follower of Islamism, he gave religious freedom to Jodhabai, because Jodha was a Hindu and she worshipped Lord Krishna. Always she was performing puja twice to Lord Krishna. That is why Akbar gave her religious freedom, and a beautiful Krishna temple was built for Jodha. And even as per some of sources, Akbar was taking part in the religious performances or religious rituals conducted by Jodha. So, all these points we learn. That is why we say that Akbar had religious tolerant. He was a religious tolerant king. So, these points we learn as the Rajput policy of Akbar, and Akbar appointed the Rajputs in his administration. He gave them a higher post in his administration, and he appointed them as Mansabdars. What is this Mansabdar system? We will learn it later. And all these points we learn as the measures taken by Akbar to get victory against Rajputs. So, here not through the wars or weapons, or there was no bloodshed. So, very easily Akbar could get victory against Rajputs. But here except Mewar, all the provinces accepted the overlordship of Akbar. So, here Mewar, the king Uday Singh, he never agreed the overlordship of Akbar. He fought until his death. And a furious war fought between Rana Pratap Singh and Akbar, that what we learn as the Battle of Haldigath in the year 1576 CE, Battle of Haldigath. It was a furious battle which was fought between Rana Pratap Singh and Akbar, but Rana Pratap Singh was defeated by the hands of Akbar. But anyhow, Akbar could not gain Mewar until the death of Rana Pratap Singh. So, like this Akbar got hold over Rajput provinces also. And next we learn some points about his South Indian expedition. Here, when we learn about his conquest towards South India, of course, some of the provinces of South India were included in his empire. So, here he sent political missions to the South Indian provinces to accept or to force them to accept his overlordship. But here some of the provinces like Bidar, then Khandesh, Ahmednagar, Golconda, Bijapur. So, here only a few provinces accepted his overlordship, and Chand Bibi of Ahmednagar, she fought bravely against the Mughals. In the year 1595, she fought against the Mughals, but she could not get victory because Ahmednagar was a very small province. Only a limited soldiers were there. But just see Mughals army, a powerful army, a huge army. So, she could not fight against this powerful army, and she lost in the battle, and this Ahmednagar was annexed to Akbar's empire. So, like this Akbar extended his empire towards the southern parts of India also. Now, let us see here what was the extension of Akbar's empire. So, here Akbar's empire was extended from Himalaya in the north to Godavari in the south, and from Bengal towards the east, and Kabul towards the west. So, this was the extension of Akbar's empire. Well, now let us have a glance about the administration of Akbar. So, here Akbar introduced a centralized system of administration. Here king was called as Badshah, means the Persian concept, and here king was considered as the shadow of God, and the administration was going on as per the Islamic principles, because Akbar was a follower of Islamism. Islamism was his main religion. That is why he followed the Islamic principles in his administration. Then the king was helped by some of the assistants like ministers, and there was a cabinet. I think this concept even today also followed in our administrative system, the cabinet administrative system. Here, in this cabinet, there were several ministers to help the king in his administration. For example, here Wakil, he was called as the chief minister, or the chief minister was called as Wakil. Then Diwan-e-Ali was the finance minister, and Mir Bhakshi was the in charge of salary distribution. Then Sadr, he was the in charge of charities, and after that Khan-e-Saman, he was the home minister, and after that Diwan was the revenue minister. So here see students, Diwan, this term even used in the administration of Wadairs also. In the future next lessons you will learn about the administration of Diwans like Vishweshwaraya or Diwan Purnaya or Diwan Mirza Ismail. So Diwan means the revenue minister. So this concept was introduced by Akbar during his administration. Then Qazi was the chief justice, Qazi. So like this, there were several ministers there to help the king in his administration. Akbar's empire, the whole empire of Akbar was divided into 16 subas. So here, in each suba, there was a governor. He was called as Subedar. And further these subas were divided into sarkars, that means districts. So sarkars further divided into paraganas or taluks, and here Kotwal was the in charge of city administration, and the last unit of administration was village. So here in each and every village there was a panchayat called village panchayat. The same concept even today also we can see in our present administration. In each and every village there is a village panchayat. So here these points we learn as the main administrative contribution of Akbar. Here when we learn about his contribution in the field of administration, one more important point we learn here, that is Mansabdari system. This is very important for the examination point of view. So what is this Mansabdari system? A new system of military and civil administration introduced by Akbar, that is called Mansabdari system. What is this Mansab? So here this is a concept which was used in Persia. So I think this is the impact of Nasab Kardan means a new administrative system introduced in Persia, Nasab Kardan. So I think this Mansabdari system is the impact of Nasab Kardan. Akbar introduced the same Nasab Kardan in India with some changes. So what is this Mansabdari system? Mansab means rank. Remember, it is very important. Mansab means rank. Rank means position. Try to understand. So here Mansabdar had to provide the soldiers to the king. So here see the diplomatic skill of Akbar. Here the king did not want to take any responsibility with regarding to the soldiers. The same thing here when we learn about in modern Indian history, when we learn about British administration, their Lord Wellesley's policy, subsidiary alliance, the same thing. I think subsidiary alliance, the impact of this Mansabdari system, maybe as per my opinion. So here Nasab Kardan means in Persian language fixing a particular person to a particular place. But Akbar made slight changes in his Mansabdari system here. Mansabdars means they had several ranks here. Ranks means from 10 to 10,000, later it was extended to 50,000. That means 10 soldiers or maximum means 50,000 soldiers one could recruit for the king. So, here Mansabdars were given jagirs by the king, and there were two types, like here one is Zat and another one is Sawar. Zat means number of soldiers to maintain. A particular Mansabdar had to maintain a number of soldiers. It may be, as I told here, 10 minimum, maximum maybe 50,000. And Sawar means a Mansabdar had to maintain a particular number of horsemen along with their horse. Try to understand. So, two types were there. One type is only soldiers. Another type is Sawar, that means Sawar means horsemen. So, like this they had to provide soldiers to the king. Try to understand the principle of Akbar. Akbar did not want to take any responsibility with regarding to his army. Somebody else will take responsibility. For them Akbar was paying salary, not salary, jagirs were given to the Mansabdars. Here, but it became a problem for Akbar later. What happened? Akbar had only 25,000 soldiers as standing army. The remaining soldiers were provided by the Mansabdars. But what happened in the future? Some Mansabdars became very powerful because they had army, powerful force. So, it was a problem for Akbar, that is why it failed. So, anyhow, like this a new system of civil administration which was introduced by Akbar, that is called Mansabdari system. Next, we learn about the revenue system of Akbar. Here Akbar had a very clever revenue minister, Raja Todarmal. He was the revenue minister of Akbar. He introduced an excellent revenue system which is called as Japti system. So, here what is this Japti system means? The land was measured and classified into 4 classes as per the fertility of the soil. So, here 4 classes were there. The first one is Polaj land, and the second one is Parauti land, and the third one is Chachar, and the fourth one is Banjar. So, like this there were 4 classes in the land. So, as per the fertility of the soil. So, here the first one is Polaj. Polaj means always in cultivation. It is a very good land, very fertile land, and it is called Polaj. So, taxes were levied on this land. And second one is Parauti. It is left for 1 or 2 years without cultivation. So, it is not so fertile soil, fertile land. So, that is why it was left 1 or 2 years without cultivation. And third one is Chachar. Chachar means a land left for 3 to 4 years without cultivation. So, it is not fertile land. And another one is Banjar, the last one is Banjar. Banjar land means the land left for more than 5 years without cultivation. Banjar means the name itself indicates there, Banjar land means as per my opinion may be wasteland. It is not suitable for cultivation, Banjar land. So, like this the land was divided into 4 classes, and as per the fertility of the soil the taxes were levied. So, this was a very good system, revenue system which was introduced by Raja Todarmal, which is called as Sapti system. Then Todarmal's Bandobast system. What is this Bandobast system? See how much importance were given to the agriculture during that time. Todarmal made several reforms with regarding to the revenue administration. So here his officials were visiting to the farmers' agricultural land during the time of harvesting, and they were giving the suggestions to the farmers or peasants how to do the cultivation or what type of crops to be grown. So like this and what type of fertilizers to be used. So like this the suggestions were given to the peasants. And even another important point what we learn, the loans were also provided to the peasants and they could repay it with several installments also. So this type of facility was also given to the farmers. That is what we learn it as Bandobast system, Todarmal's Bandobast system. Well, the religious policy of Akbar. As I told in the beginning, Akbar was a follower of Islamism. Even though he was a follower of Islamism, he gave importance to other religions also. The religions like Jainism, Buddhism, especially Hinduism. So here we can give several evidences which shows that Akbar was a religious tolerant king, that the Rajput policy of Akbar. See how many Hindus were appointed in high posts in his administration, and even several he built a beautiful temple for his Hindu queen Jodhabai. So all these points we learn or which shows the religious tolerance of Akbar. So here when we learn about the religious policy, we can say that he followed the liberal principles with regarding to the religious policy. And here mainly some of the measures taken by him to improve the Hindus' living condition here, especially in the year 1563, he abolished the pilgrimage tax. The tax, what is this pilgrimage tax? So here several taxes were levied on the religious or the holy places of Hindus. So this is called pilgrimage taxes. So this system was abolished by Akbar. It was a great achievement of Akbar in the field of religion. Then a special tax was levied on Hindus, that is called jizya tax. Jizya tax means per head revenue. Suppose in a Hindu family, if there are 10 members in a family, these 10 members also had to pay the taxes. So this is called jizya tax. So it was one of the evils. So it was abolished by Akbar. It was a great contribution of Akbar. Then you know that he appointed several Hindus in his court. Even when we learn about his contribution to music, Akbar loved music. We know that Tansen was a very famous musician, one who was patronized by Akbar, and several musicians were also patronized by him. So here Akbar was an illiterate king. You know, we have learnt when Akbar's father Humayun was wandering from one place to another place without power. During that time Akbar was born. So Akbar did not get any proper education. That is what the ill fate of Akbar. So anyhow, here even though he was an illiterate, he had a very good knowledge about philosophy and history, and he had a very good memory power also. So here when we learn about his contribution in the field of religion, this is another important point. What he prohibited the child marriage and sati system also. See, these were the social evils crept into the society during that time. Child marriage, sati system. In among Rajputs, we learn it as Jauhar system. So all these evils were abolished by him, and widow remarriage was encouraged. See, these are the good things which were made or brought some reforms in the field of religion. Then very important point what we learn here is Din-e-Ilahi. So, Din-e-Ilahi is a new religion which was introduced by Akbar. It is also called as Tawhid-e-Ilahi, Din-e-Ilahi or Tawhid-e-Ilahi, which means divine monotheism. So, means worshipping one God, one religion, one God for all. So, that was the main principle of this Din-e-Ilahi. That means one more objective is here, peace for all and brotherhood. So, these are the main objectives of this Din-e-Ilahi. So, here in the year 1582, Akbar established Ibadat Khana at Fatehpur to hold religious discussions. The main objective of this Ibadat Khana was to hold religious discussions. Here, the scholars belong to several religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Islamism. So, all these scholars were they were conducting some religious conferences or discussions in this Ibadat Khana. You know, when we learn about the history of Basavanna, there comes Basavanna established Anubhava Mantapa. So, what was the purpose of Anubhava Mantapa? Same thing, same. So, here later Din-e-Ilahi lost its importance after the death of Akbar. I think this Din-e-Ilahi lost its importance. Then patronage to literature. As I told in the beginning, Akbar was an illiterate king, but he gave importance to the literary works, and several books, Indian books like our great epics Ramayana and Mahabharata, then Lilavati, Rajatarangini, Panchatantra. So, all these literary works which were written in Sanskrit were translated to Persian language, and great poets were there during his period. Tulasidas, then Surdas. So, Tulasidas wrote Ramacharita Manasa. It is an important literary work during that period, and Surdas, his important work is Sur Sagar. Then several historians were also there. For example, Abul Fazl, his important literary work, Ain-e-Akbari and Akbar Nama. These were the two important literary works of Abul Fazl. So, these points we learn as his contribution in the field of literature. Next, his contribution to art and architecture. Here, the contribution of Akbar is remarkable in the field of art and architecture. Especially, he built several palaces at Amber, Bikaner, Jodhpur, and he constructed several tanks also for the purpose of irrigation. Then he had very good aesthetic sense. The best example for that, he built several gardens also, and some constructions we can find. For example, this Fatehpur, a new city was built by Akbar. That is also a very good contribution of Akbar in the field of art and architecture. Then Buland Darwaza, and after that tomb of Salim Chishti, then Panchamahal, Jodhabai's palace. So, all these constructions even today also remarkable, and all these constructions we can say that the contributions of Akbar to art and architecture. And he built two other buildings, one is Diwan-e-Am and another one is Diwan-e-Khas. See here, Akbar used this Diwan-e-Am and Diwan-e-Khas for his administrative purposes. Diwan-e-Am was used to receive the grievances from his people. And another building, that is Diwan-e-Khas, that was used for his administrative purpose. For example, to conduct some secret meetings along with his cabinet ministers. So, all these points we learn here as his contribution. Then the construction of Agra fort, the great contribution of Akbar. Then these points we learn as his contribution in the field of art and architecture. Even though he was an illiterate, he had a great memory power, and he had the knowledge of philosophy, then literature, history, and other general sciences. Then we can say that Akbar was a great conqueror, he was a great statesman, he was a great administrator. That is why Jalaluddin Muhammad was called as Akbar. Akbar means the great. Well, students, now let us have a glance about the contribution of Mughals. When we learn the overall contribution of the Mughals, their contribution is remarkable in the field of education and literature, then art and architecture. So, here the Mughals built several madrasas and colleges for the sake of education, and very important point what we learn here is special scholarships were also introduced by the Mughal rulers, especially here we remember the name of Shah Jahan. During his administration, special scholarship was given to the students also. Then girls' education was not encouraged, because we know that all the rulers, they ruled as per the Islamic principles. That is why the girls were not encouraged in education. Then growth of literature. Here several languages like Turkish, Persian, Sanskrit, Hindi. In these languages several books were written, and Babar, as I told in the beginning, he was a great writer, great poet. Here his important literary work is his autobiography, that is Babar Nama, and during his administration he translated Ramayana and Mahabharata from Sanskrit to Persian languages. Then Abul Fazl was a great historian. He wrote Akbar Nama and Ain-e Akbari. Then Gulbadan Begum wrote Humayun Nama, and Malik Muhammad, his important literary work is Padmavati. We know that the story of Padmavati and Alauddin Khilji. Then Tulsidas, his important literary work is Ramacharitamanasa, and Surdas, his important literary work is Sursagar. So, these are the important literary works which were written during the period of Mughals. Then let us have a glance about their contribution to art and architecture. Here the important features of their art and architecture are domes, tall pillars, gateways, arcs, then minars. These were the important features of their architecture. What are the important monuments built during their period? Here Babar built the Kabul Bagh at Panipat, and after that Juma Masjid at Sambal, and Akbar's constructions we can see here Buland Darwaza, then Juma Masjid, tomb of Salim Chishti, then Panchamahal, palace of Jodhabhai, Diwan-e-Am and Diwan-e-Kaz. All these points I explained before. Then Shah Jahan's contribution is remarkable. That is why, because of his contribution to art and architecture, even today also Shah Jahan's name is evergreen. So, here his contribution, when we remember Shah Jahan, immediately we must remember his contribution to art and architecture, that is Taj Mahal. Yes. So, here a beautiful Taj Mahal is built by Shah Jahan. You know that Taj Mahal means that is a best evidence for the love story between Shah Jahan and Mumtaz. So, here Taj Mahal is built in the name of Mumtaz. It is built in the white marble, and the main architect of this Taj Mahal was Ustad Isa, and this is on the bank of river Yamuna. And after that he built Moti Masjid at Agra, then Jama Masjid, then Red Fort, and another important contribution of Shah Jahan is Peacock Throne. So, while studying all these points, we can say the period of Shah Jahan was considered as the golden age in the architecture, golden age. So, here their contribution in the field of painting, even during the period of Jahangir, he was a great patron of painting. Here several painters were patronized by him, like Ustad Mansur, then Murad, Bishandas. These were the important painters, those who were patronized by Shah Jahan. And after that music. Here, except Aurangzeb, remaining all the Mughal rulers, they gave more importance to music. Several musicians were patronized by them. We know that Akbar was a great ruler. During his period, Tansen was patronized by him, and Ramdas, Surdas, these were the musicians. They composed several lyrics also. So, all these points we learn as the contribution of Mughals in the field of music. Students, because of shortage of timings, I explained all these points shortly. Please go through your textbook carefully. At the end of each lesson, there are some questions, 1 mark, 2 marks, 5 marks and 10 marks questions are there. Please write down the answers to that questions. The direct answers are given in your textbook. Write down the answers and study well. So, before going to conclude, once again let us rewind what we have studied in this class. Here, Mughal dynasty was founded by Babar. I told you to remember the year 1526 is very important. So, the first battle of Panipat was fought between Ibrahim Lodi and Babar. So, year after the administration of Babar, Humayun ruled for a few years. Then later Akbar, the great ruler, Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar, the great ruler of Mughals. We have learnt about his administration, his contribution to art and architecture. All these points we have learnt. And after that, Mughals contribution, just now we have studied their contribution in the field of education, literature and art and architecture. With this, we end this lesson. Students, study well. Please take care of your health. Be safe at home. Thank you. Thank you.